Hello.
Hey, Patrick, how are you?
Good. How are you?
We're doing good.
Laura's here. Josh.
Great. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, is my background look normal to you? It's not flipped upside down, is it?
Nope. It
Okay.
says gel hydration.
Okay, because on my end, it's backward. So I just want to make sure it's flipped the right way.
Definitely.
Should I leave everything on, the video, and keep it unmuted?
Okay. Laura, can you speak a little bit more?
Sure. Can you hear me now, Josh? Sound. Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is Laura Lockwood. How do I sound?
I can hear you.
Is that good, Josh? We need more.
Okay. That's good.
How you doing, bud?
Let me I gotta mute this real quick.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is Laura Lockwood, Gel Hydration Technologies. Hopefully you can hear me, Josh, and this sounds good. Do you need me to keep talking? All good? Not now.
So they won't be making a specific ask in terms of money.
That's why I found that out, because I.
Yeah.
Yes, they may agree to the things that they need. That's the reason they're doing it. They'll probably be doing it, saying that they're using the process.
Yeah.
The limits, it's a lot of.
Okay.
This is just. Are you ready? All right. I got one here. So he's doing the presentation.
Yeah, right, okay.
What I'm gonna have you guys do is do one at a time, and just have you talk for 10 seconds. So just tell me your name, where you're from.
Yeah.
That helps. We'll start with you.
Yeah, so I need to get your name down. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Lisa texted me and said that Kathy could not join us. Okay, all right, thank you.
87 years ago, our forefathers brought to this great nation. Can you hear me?
Is he doing some sort of sound test?
Yeah, he's testing. I'm born
I didn't know there was a test.
small Guatemalan child.
And that's when Tom is gonna introduce, like a senior
We're
award.
just gonna talk until they play it off.
And Tom, I don't know how
So
you
we're gonna
want
call
to
them up
do
one
that.
at a time. Chris, do you have the first questions for Butter?
Okay.
You know, so 2-3 questions maybe.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And you're going to give them a score, 1 to 10. The scores are not going to be used for your final vote, as crazy as that sounds. This is just your impression.
Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. Check 1, check 2. Hey, Laura, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Yes,
Sorry about that. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Great, thank you. I'm going to do a quick room mic check, just to make sure we have you coming through all the way. This won't make noise. That's good. All right, Laura, can you talk a little bit?
Sure. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Laura Lockwood with Gel Hydration Technologies. Can you hear me now? Is everything sounding good?
Yeah, keep talking.
Okay. Here. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Sally. Everything sound good now?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
How do I sound to you?
Other than the mask muffle, you sound great.
That's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the pictures are done, Terry Johnson, we're twins, if you didn't know. We're not twins, we're not related.
You got the look.
Terry Johnson is going to guide you into the front room so you can make your decision.
Okay.
The decision will be discussion-based, decided. I recommend you go in with 2 of your top 2 and discuss it from there. Sometimes we may all, have the same thing. You only have 15 minutes.
15?
So it's a quick decision.
Yeah.
So Terry will be there. He's not going to be giving you his opinion.
Laura, can you still hear me?
But he will help kind of move through
A little muffled, but I can hear you. A lot of background
Okay.
noise.
and answer questions you
Great.
have about that criteria.
Do
Do you all understand the criteria?
still doing a couple of audio checks here. And then you can see everybody in the room.
And I didn't want to see anything. There is beer
Great.
over there. There is seltzer. Okay, excellent. And there are snack bags.
All right, can you keep talking?
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Laura Lockwood, Gel Hydration Technologies. Our address is 415 Water Street in Ellsworth, Maine. Our email is thehydrationteam@gmail.com. Our website is www.gelhydration.com.
Great.
Lockwood, good.
Yeah, I think that's as loud as I can get it on my side. Can you try a little bit more?
Sure. This is Laura Lockwood with Gel Hydration Technologies. Our address is 415 Water Street, Ellsworth, Maine, 04605. Our email is thehydrationteam@gmail.com.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Can we check, we want to check your wireless mics real quick, okay? Can
Okay.
we start with yours?
Sure, yeah. Test, 1, 2. How's my sound? Can you hear me? Carrie.
Barry?
Carrie, yeah.
Oh, T with the T?
Nope, C.
With the C?
Yep.
Hello, I'm gonna have, Barry talk a little bit.
So,
and let me know if you can hear him.
that's the camera you'll be looking at right there.
So you're gonna talk to,
Lori, this is Carrie. I'm in Portland downtown. You don't look like you can hear me at all, which is,
A little muffled.
can she?
It's a little muffled, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm wearing this mask, so, yeah.
There's a lot of background noise anyway.
and then can we check your mic real quick? Sure.
My name is Chris Sauer. Hey, folks. Founder. We have
And
had
senior
board advisor for ORPC. We just need to hear the sounds of each mic, so if you need practice, I would just, you go to the picnic table, or in one of the side rooms.
Test it a little bit more.
Hey,
Oh, okay. My name is Chris Sauer. I'm founder.
We're good. Okay, and if you want to test real quick? Hey, Ken.
University of Maine Graduate Professional Center. Blah, blah, blah. Terry Sutton, CEO, yeah, I'm going to take it off anyway. Terry Sutton, CEO, Maine Center Ventures.
While they're testing mics, hey, folks, just a little protocol.
Terry Sutton, CEO, Maine Center Ventures. Terry Sutton, CEO, Maine Center Ventures.
Great, Laura, can you hear them all? Are they coming through? Can you try yours again?
Terry Sutton, CEO, Maine Center Ventures.
I can hear.
Hey, that's great. And we'll just test yours again real quick while it's quiet in here.
Oh, okay.
That's a problem because then my hearing aids come out.
I have that problem with my Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least we don't have earrings.
Chris Sauer. I am a founder, former CEO, and now senior board advisor for ORPC.
Laura, can you hear him okay?
Oh, test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2, test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Great. And we just got one more, and then we're good.
I'm Kerry Tyson. I'm the executive director. All right.
Hey, thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it.
So Carrie, just by chance, you actually are going to ask me the questions.
Here, I want to thank you for coming. And just don't turn on the fans in there, they'll be, or you can go down the stairs, but just kind of tiptoe down the stairs, that board makes a little noise. Other than that, I hope but there's little takeout snacks to take and there's beverages right there and make yourself comfortable. Watch the airflow here so you can all be safe. Thank you for wearing your mask. That's important.
Hey, Brett.
You reckon? Yeah. I have to say this is really weird. I kind of like it better the old days. Hey, Tom, we got 5:27 right now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Top Gun Showcase 2020, our long-anticipated evening with our finalists. This evening is a real testament to the tenacity and resilience of Maine's entrepreneurs. The 9 companies that are pitching tonight, in addition to the dozens of other companies that are out there watching this event, are a real testament to the tenacity of Maine's entrepreneurs. It's also a testament to the resilience of our partners around the state. partners, our mentors, and all the other people who've been involved in the program and making it a success. There's literally been hundreds of people involved across the state. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Top Gun and its history. We started this program in 2009. It's our 11th year. We did take 1 year off, and this has been a really interesting year to run Top Gun. And I have to say that the fact that we're all here and having this event after the roller coaster ride we've all been through is quite something. So the Top Gun program is a competitively selected entrepreneurship program that combines mentoring and high impact weekly gatherings. We do the program in Bangor, Portland, Lewiston, Auburn, Brunswick, and Waterville. Over the last couple of years, we've been really trying to mix up the program and try new things. And to that end, we've developed programs in aquaculture, craft beverage, and specialty foods. And thanks to a grant that we just received from the U.S. Department of Commerce, we're actually going to be adding another element to the program in 2021, and that is a focus on life sciences, which is really exciting. So we are thrilled to be expanding the program, and we'd like to thank a couple of our partners who've been involved really from the start and who've been really supporting us and who will be supporting us as we expand the program into some new areas. The Maine Technology Institute is providing some of the matching funds on this new EDA grant that we've received. Focus Maine has been very much involved in helping with our food programs, and Maine Health will be supporting with some matching funds on the expansion of our Top Gun program next year. So we're very grateful to them. The Maine Technology Institute is also providing a $25,000 cash prize, which the companies are competing for tonight, which we also very much appreciate. And we'd also like to thank the University of Maine Graduate and Professional Center, also known as the Maine Center Ventures, for sponsoring tonight's showcase. So now it's my pleasure to introduce the judges this evening. We'll start with Chris Sauer, who is the co-founder of Ocean Renewable Power Company. Chris is the co-founder and senior advisor to the board. ORPC, as it's known, is an international industry leader developing technology that generates clean, predictable power from oceans and river currents. Chris is a professional engineer, energy entrepreneur, strategic development consultant, and an active member on the MC board. Terry Sutton is the CEO of Maine Center Ventures. Terry is an enthusiastic and very energetic entrepreneur herself, very entrepreneurially minded, and has been very much involved in strategic direction, delivering transformative results in bridging people, processes, and technology. Terry has a long track record in management success across multiple functions, including marketing and e-commerce. Finally, we have Terry Tyson, who is the new executive director of the Portland Downtown organization. Their mission is to stimulate a thriving and vibrant, sustainable downtown community. Terry has recently filled the role previously serving as the director of community and economic development for the Kennebec Council of Governments. So welcome to all the judges. Thank you for being here. The judging criteria tonight, just to go over some of the way this is going to operate here, is that the judges will select one company this evening to win the $25,000 cash prize. The prize will be provided by, as I mentioned, MTI. It's intended to help the winner accelerate and develop their business. And the client selection criteria is as follows. The first criteria is scalability, and that's the ability to grow revenue, employees, customers, and market penetration in your product offerings. The second is feasibility, and that is the sustainable competitive advantage that you can bring, that you have a competitive advantage and are realistically able to develop the capital requirements. And the third criteria is innovation, and that is breakthrough idea that solves problems in a unique way. The fourth and final is presentation, overall clear communication and clarity of concept, compelling story, pervasiveness, and showing that the entrepreneur has passion for their business. So those are the selection criteria. And every year we do a legal disclaimer. This night's presentation, practicing pitching. This is not a solicitation for investments. That's something that we always need to state. The pitching will begin with 9 companies pitching, 5 minutes each. There'll be 4 minutes of Q&A from our judges and a minute of transition between each one of the pitchers. So with that, we will launch our first pitch tonight, and I will be calling up Butterfield Shellfish.
Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Donnelly, and I'm the farm manager for Butterfield Shellfish. I'm here today to talk to you about scaling a small oyster farm and the concept behind the Ocean Smart Farm technology. Our farm began 6 years ago when my uncle and our founder, Keith Butterfield, put in 3 small LPAs in between Mosier and Little Mosier Island in Casco Bay, Maine. In those first 4 years, he was able to learn the ins and outs and the hard lessons of oyster farming. And in these previous 2 years, we feel we've identified the key barriers to growth in our industry for small family farms. The foremost barrier is the labor required to farm the oysters. Under the current growing systems, approximately 250,000 oysters per farmer per year is an attainable goal. Now, this simply does not generate the revenue necessary to justify full-time occupation, even though this is a full-time job. Keith and I looked at each other and we got scared. We realized that our farm was going down the same path that many of the farms before us had, and we didn't know what to do. So we looked for a new solution, and we believe we found the answer in New Zealand. Now, before I get into the magic of the Flip Farm system, I gotta give you some context about what happens in the oyster farm. So there are 3 ongoing functions of an oyster farm that you're gonna see me do every week of the summer and the fall. That first function is caring for your babies in the nursery phase. Now, although critically important, this is not the backbreaking labor and time-consuming effort on the water, which is preventing us from scaling. It is the second function on the farm, which is controlling for biofouling and your stocking densities, which is requiring all my energy and resources when I'm on the water. The third function, harvesting the oysters ready for market, is a medium labor function found somewhere in between the other 2. However, that's not the immediate impediment to growth for our business. So the efficiency gains in the Flip Farm system can be found in the biofouling control by mechanizing the flipping process. If you look up on the right-hand side, you can clearly see that aluminum structure, which is removable and attaches to the side of my boat. I then drive my boat along the hexabasket line, mechanically flipping the baskets over. Closely on the left, you can see the alternative, which is backbreaking labor and 1/10 the speed of the Flip Farm. Now, we've seen transformational technologies like this before. You know, some of you in the audience, many of you in Maine might remember that kids used to actually get let out of school to help the potato harvest in the fall. Now, with the advent of the potato combine, this was no longer important. One farmer could do the labor that all those kids did and then some. So some farmers are going to take the Flip Farm technology and they're going to try to grow as many oysters in one small area as they possibly can. And I'm telling you, this is not the concept behind the Ocean Smart Farm. The Ocean Smart Farm seeks to use the Flip Farm technology as an economic engine to drive growth from there. Now, some farmers might use that engine to diversify into new species like we have, diversifying against ecological and market risk. Other farmers might choose to engage in research and development projects, bettering the job for themselves and their fellow farmers. And a third group might choose to spend more time with their kids. The core value of the Ocean Smart Farm is to empower farmers by minimizing the time and labor requirements necessary to produce a profit on the water without sacrificing the farming experience that pulled us out there in the first place. In summary, I want to address the team, scalability, and feasibility necessary for this innovation. We feel our team has the marketing, sales, and distribution expertise necessary to take this concept from 150 small farms in Maine nationwide, and we have an exclusive distributorship of this equipment within the Northeast. We feel we're well poised to do so. The scalability of this innovation is immense. There is no reason why oyster farmers that choose to grow on the surface wouldn't make the transition into this new technology. The feasibility of the system has been proven in Australia and New Zealand, and just over 1 week ago, we had our first successful flip in Maine's cold waters. So now I just want to reiterate that this technology is disruptive to conventional growing methods, and we need your help to make sure that the farmers in Maine get on the front side of that innovation and not the back side. Thank you.
So the first question will come from Chris.
Yeah, it was a great presentation. You presented yourself very well, so congratulations on that. But I do have 2 or 3 questions. I didn't hear anything about the actual market size. I didn't hear anything about cost structures. Okay. And so with this new mechanization, what does that do to your cost structure? Does that make you more competitive, or does it just make you bigger?
Substantially more competitive. So beyond just increasing production capacity, your cost per oyster goes through the floor. And right now, this system's only 15 to 20% more expensive than the alternative growing systems. So your capital investment is comparable, but your cost per oyster is drastically different. Right now, we produce at about 39 to 45 cents per oyster in traditional systems. This new system is projected to go to 17 cents per oyster.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Great.
And that is I guess, exclusively or primarily a reduction in labor?
Yes, primarily. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay. It was a little confusing to me. Are you selling oysters or are you selling technology?
The idea behind the Ocean Smart Farm is to become the living, breathing example in America. So our founder, my uncle Keith Butterfield, actually went to New Zealand this past winter to see the technology. I'm sure all of you can appreciate that when you can see it and trial it yourself, it's a completely different experience than watching the YouTube video. So we want to be the first farm that farmers come and actually use the equipment. We're going to help them with importation of the gear and the setup. And then we're going to look for ways to supply ongoing value. So we do have our own profit center of our oyster farm, but that's really meant to be the guinea pig for distribution of the equipment.
Okay, so it's really services oriented more than just selling oysters.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So what keeps anybody else from doing this? You don't own the technology?
No, so we have an agreement. We have a written agreement now with the inventor of the technology. He does have an international and enforceable patent. He wants to try us out as the distributor for the Northeast and see if we can handle it, and we'll expand from there. But
Okay.
it comes back to that trial.
So you have an agreement in place
We
that
do.
says if you're successful, you have essentially a franchise area where you can do this.
In the Northeast, it's cemented, and there's potential to expand from there. Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
Got it.
Okay, our next presenter is Mumbai to Maine.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cherise Scott, the creator and founder of Mumbai to Maine. Mumbai to Maine is Maine's first Indian-inspired culinary brand that serves to engage, educate, and nourish enterprising eaters across the state and beyond. My story starts at 16 years old when I left Mumbai and moved to Canada with my family, our lives packed up in 12 suitcases. Fast forward, I'm so fortunate to call this beautiful state of Maine my home now for over a decade. A few years ago, I had just lost my mom, and I was feeling these really overwhelming nostalgic cravings for my all-time favorite dish, my mother's signature Kaldeen. The Kaldeen is a creamy, coconut, spice-infused, luscious gravy, and she'd fill it with giant, juicy shrimp. I knew I couldn't find my mom's Kaldeen at a food store on the shelf, at a restaurant, or even as a frozen entree. In fact, I couldn't find any comfort home-style food at the food store that matched my expectations. Everything was either tasted overly processed, but one thing's for sure, it did not taste like my mom's scratch-based home cooking. So I got into my kitchen, I pulled out her recipes, and I mastered each one. I was so thrilled with the results. I thought to myself, there have to be other people out there who have probably never experienced such authentic home-style Indian flavors like these. I was determined to bring these flavors and make them accessible to anyone. So, after countless hours of scratch baking and crafting all these spices batch after batch, I am so excited and pleased to introduce you all today to Mumbai to Maine's shelf-stable all-Indian summer sauce collection. We have Saag, Makhani, and Kaldeen. These are all based on my family's heritage recipes with custom craft spice blends, all natural, preservative-free, gluten-free, shelf-stable, as you know, handcrafted right here in the state of Maine. And for home style in just minutes. I mean, you literally just need to open the jar, pour, simmer away, add your protein, enjoy and serve with your family. And they're going to be retailing for about $7 to $9.99 for a 16-ounce jar. I even have 3 more recipes adding to this collection by the end of this year. So while I can, let me introduce you to the star lineup. We have Kaldeen, Makhani, and Saag. Kaldeen is my all-time favorite dish. Please note it is now replaced by lobster, not juicy shrimp, because we're in Maine. And it's got the coconut infusion in it with all the creamy spices and the notes of turmeric and cumin and coriander and peppercorn come to life. And then we have Makhani. Makhani literally means with butter. So this buttery-based tomato sauce is infused with the freshest and finest Indian spice blends. And finally, we have Saag. This hearty vegetarian sauce is loaded with spinach and broccoli and aromatic healing spices like fenugreek and garam masala, just a touch of cream to level it all out. Now, there is no arguing, folks. People are cooking more at home now than ever before. In fact, the sale of global ethnic sauces is forecasted to reach $28 billion by next year when I introduce myself to the market. And people are cooking more at home now, but they're looking for creative ways to up their spice game with spicy, ethnic, and bold flavors. And this is where Mumbai to Maine comes in. In 2021, I have a gross revenue projection of $200,000. And this is based on my brand engagement and positioning with 10 Hannaford stores in the Close to Home program. I'm going to be at farmers markets, specialty events, doing exclusive trading, tasting collaborative dinners with chefs across the state, as well as at 40 specialty stores and Amazon.com, and of course, MumbaiToMaine.com on my website. So folks, there's no arguing here. You know, I've been doing so much since 2015, sharing my brand, my story through my blog, and people want to know the story behind what they eat. And I'm so thrilled to see that all my efforts have been resonating in the state of Maine. So Top Gun judges, at this time, I am crafting these simmer sauces in my licensed and certified home kitchen. But with this $25,000 prize, I will be able to accelerate my production at least tenfold by working with a co-packing facility right here in the state of Maine. By stepping away from manufacturing, it will give me the focus I need to build this brand and scale it through marketing, distribution, and sales channels. Additionally, I'll have the Top Gun network to tap into, as well as my husband, who is a web developer, who will be launching the entire e-commerce platform and overseeing its growth. So finally, I am so ready to launch this brand, this summer sauce line, the end of this year. And I hope, judges, that I can count on your support to see this Mumbai to Maine journey in a jar. Thank you.
So Carrie Sutton will be asking a question.
Thank you. So it was very compelling, very
Thank you.
engaging. I want to try those sauces.
Absolutely.
So my question, I have a few questions. One is, how do you, so you've defined your uniqueness in the market because you've perfected these special sauces.
Correct.
How unique are these sauces? Because the market for this type of food seems to be pretty big. And I would be surprised if there were not others making some similar products.
Absolutely. I think this is a very unique recipe base, but it's also very authentic to certain regions and parts of India. And my specialty and my brand is to educate, create awareness, and nourish people who want to learn more about different flavor profiles, different parts of Indian food. I think we've finally come to that comfort level with Mexican food and Asian food, and I think it's time for Indian food to shine and take stage. And I'm the one to penetrate that market, and I'm pulling out these really supremely ethnic sauces to the market. And it's an ultra premium product, so it will stand out.
So in your 2021 plan,
Yes.
you had the breakdown of by channel, how you plan to introduce. Do you have commitments from, you had Hannaford, you mentioned that, but do you have any commitments from any of the other channels that you have planned?
Absolutely. So one of my channels, actually, I'm hosting a really wonderful tasting dinner at Natalie's in the late fall this year, actually November, prior to launching the sauces. And I'm going to be doing these exclusive tasting dinners with chefs across the state of Maine, because remember, the Maine is part of my brand and it's my partner. So my plan is to make sure that every enterprise in the state of Maine that I can collaborate with to put us on the map I will be leveraging with them. And so I've worked with some of the chefs like Melissa Kelly. I'm going to be partnering with her at Primo as well. And also various specialty stores across the state of Maine that I've been serving and speaking with. Some of them have been shut down during COVID, but they're all still selling sauces. So they're very excited to jump on board.
Okay, one last question. Can you talk about your margin? How are you with your selling price? You know, what's your margin? How do you expect that will change over time as you scale up your production?
That's such a great question. Thank you for asking that. So at this point, my CPU is about 340 to 355. And I'm looking to have at least a 30% markup on that. And that will get me at a very comfortable wholesale price for Hannaford, as well as then working in wholesale with specialty stores across the state of Maine. I think I should easily be able to cover my packaging, labeling, and the ingredients, of course, while working at the co-packing facility in that price range to make the profit margins that I'm looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next picture is Gel Hydration, and they're coming to us virtually.
My name is Laura Lockwood. I'm here with my partner, Patrick Jones, and our company is Gel Hydration Technologies. And our goal is to address hydration issues in animals with our FDA-approved edible gel products. Did you know that dehydration is a serious problem in dogs? You might be thinking, just give a dog water and it will drink, but this is not always the case. Some of our working dogs include military, border patrol, police dogs, and they struggle to maintain their hydration status when focused on a task. They'll often choose to eat before they'll drink. It's an issue for dog handlers to find clean water sources in the field, and clean water can spill when delivered. Dogs dehydrate faster than humans, and their bodies are designed for heat conservation, so dogs in extreme conditions need extra hydration. There's a rising epidemic of diabetes and obesity in dogs. In the US, diabetes affects 1 in 50, and 53% of America's dogs are obese. It is crucial for sick dogs to have an increased water intake, and giving dogs dry treats only adds calories and delivers no hydration. In a disaster situation, there are no alternatives in place with any of our disaster teams to aid our dogs with hydration alternatives to fresh or bottled water. In remote situations, it's a struggle for handlers to carry or find water. We have developed 3 edible gel products, Hydro-Go unflavored, Hydro-Go chicken or beef flavored, all created with human grade ingredients. Our flagship product is an FDA-approved product that delivers 95% water when consumed to feed to your dog you just tear and serve. You can safely offer it as a treat, and our product delivers no calories. Hydro-Go is an unflavored product for use in research, mouse hydration, and is also palatable for dogs and other animals. Convenient, sterile, and perfect for disaster mitigation planning. It is safe and soft so pets won't choke, and this will help with delivery of extra hydration for those obese, diabetic, and sick animals. Our product can be perceived as a treat. Our gels are thermal reversible, meaning melt the gel at a high temperature, cool, and then add medication and deliver to your dog. Our gel products can be considered a delivery platform, and the uses are seemingly endless. We guarantee a 1-year shelf life unopened with no special handling or storage requirements. Our experienced sales, marketing, and operations team all used to work for the Jackson Laboratory. We have over 25 years of experience capturing and growing strategic accounts in life sciences. Our sales experience includes educating the research community by conducting seminars around the world. Talking daily, my partner and I would share similar stories that came directly from the public about growing interest for mice and dogs. We knew we found an unmet need, and the more we researched, we uncovered. We understand the mouse and the dog market, and we have teamed up with some board-certified veterinarians to help us and partners in Ellsworth, Maine. We know that in offering gel products for the dogs, we can also be a local provider to Jack's, playing a permanent footprint in Ellsworth for production and increasing jobs. We remain connected to many of our previous colleagues, and we knew long ago this would be the perfect location for a factory. Some of the market segments we're targeting are working, service, companion dogs, and research animals. In the last 3 years, we have talked with many market leaders and decision makers for the different types of dog handlers, including military, police, search and rescue, and service dogs. We've taken an inventory of their pain points, and we found there is currently nothing on the market to address the issues that we've outlined with the dogs. For research animals, there are almost 8,000 active research facilities in the US that we can target just outside of Jack's.
In regards to the competition, there isn't any competition really on the market. Today, most people use traditional methods for hydrating their dogs, whether it's a water bottle, water with a bowl, some electrolyte type solution, or bulky devices. But there isn't a ready to consume, long shelf life, gel flavored product that won't spill on the market today. In regards to milestones, we developed our product with the University of Nebraska, and we own all our formulas. We then received an MTI grant. We used that grant to buy equipment and do production R&D. And thirdly, we secured our co-packer, which is Highworth Tofu, that's in Rockport, Maine. In regards to these financial projections, they're based on Laura and I having discussions with end users and decision makers, talking about the product and how much they would use. We think by 2024, in a market that's about $3 billion, we'll get about $160 million in sales. If we were to win this contest, this project, we would buy additional production equipment, move some of our products through R&D, finalize 2 products through the FDA approval process, and increase our sales and marketing activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Interesting and exciting. I'm curious about your education plan for the general public, the general dog owner. How, what's your thought? I heard you talk about that to some professionals, but for the general person who might, think it's easiest just to pour water in a bowl for their dog.
So most of the people today who we've spoken to, and a lot of everyday market dog users, we talk to them about, you think of this as a treat. It's not a complete water substitute, but it's a treat. And when you're out for a walk, you can give it to your dog. So we've had basically a lot of discussions, to be honest with you, with people about the product. And most pick it up pretty readily because when they walk with their dogs, almost everybody knows how inconvenient that is to either carry the water or have a bowl in water. And when we speak to them about the gel, it clicks pretty much automatically in regards to how they can see they can utilize the gel as a treat or when they're out for a walk.
Great, thank you. A couple more quick questions. You said there's no competition. That's extraordinary. What are you taking steps on legally to lock down your process?
We own our IP. I mean, we own our products, but it really is a first to market type of process. I've talked to, actually my family member is in the legal area, and talked to him, and he basically said, it's more to get to market fast. You change 1% of an ingredient and you're basically kind of spending a lot of time in court chasing that down. Patrick and I really have a lot of the relationships established already in the markets that we're going after, whether it's the research market. We have relationships with people, military, search and rescue, border patrol, Society of the Blind, hotels even. We've talked to some that could see our product in their shelves basically, so it doesn't splash all over the floor. But yeah, there are competitors for the research side. I mean, there are gel products out there, so this is a competitor to them, but on the dog side, there is nothing like it on the market.
Thank you. Final question. What are we talking about for a price point for general sizing and that sort of thing?
So for an 8-ounce pouch, it's about $259. Some price. I've asked people about in regards to research. Some would even pay $350, but we see a price about $259 a pack.
Thank you.
Last question. Thank you. Our next presenter is Main Island Aquaculture.
Hi, I'm Hannah Twombly.
And I'm Connor O'Neill. Together, we own and operate Main Island Aquaculture LLC, a small aquaculture farm based on the island of North Haven in Penobscot Bay. We specialize in the wild capture and grow out of Atlantic sea scallops, and we plan to diversify by growing multiple species of seaweed in the coming years.
So the product we specialize in is a whole scallop. Due to state regulations, wild harvesters in Maine are required to shuck at sea. So the scallop meat is often what appears on our plates. The meat or adductor muscle doesn't harbor any biotoxins. When growing scallops, we adhere to rigorous biotoxin testing protocols in order to sell the scallop whole. Scallops are often consumed whole in many countries outside of the US, and the roe in particular is often considered a delicacy.
A few key points about the scallop meat market in the United States. Although Maine accounts for less than 2% of the scallop volume, it commands the highest price per meat pound. In 2016, the United States imported 10 million more meat pounds than we produced, and that's largely in part of restrictions on the wild caught industry. And the excess demand is met by smaller frozen product from Asia and South America.
So what does the market look like for whole scallops? We're members of the Maine Aquaculture Co-op, which has been selling whole scallops on a small scale for about 2 years, and supply can't keep up with demand. The price range is about 40 cents to $2.25 a piece, and that depends on the size and the time of year. And what sort of price does a whole scallop fetch in comparison to a scallop meat? So when looking at a U20 scallop, which means 20 scallops in a pound, Maine fishermen get $10 to $12 for 20 scallop meats. When growing scallops, so with a whole scallop, we can sell them at that same size at $2 a piece. So we would bring in $40 for the same number of scallops. And then looking at our competitive advantage within the state of Maine, we can sell a fresh Maine scallop year-round at any size, assuming biotoxin levels are low. Looking outside of the state, in particular focusing on wild harvest of whole scallops in Massachusetts, we have location on our side. Maine seafood draws a premium price period. And plus we have ideal growing conditions, cold, nutrient-dense water, and protected bays and cove, which really aid in growing the scallops. Also, farm scallops provide a sustainable alternative to the impact that dragging has on the bottom when looking at wild harvested scallops.
So our current farm consists of one 800-foot long line, and we are in the application process for a 15-acre standard lease. So if we were to win tonight, we would put the $25,000 towards scaling up our business. We've currently invested over $50,000 so far. So we started out in 2017 with the purchase of a beat up old outboard and the goal of diversifying our income on the water. Since that time, we have refit our boat, we built a barge from scratch, and we have had 2 years of successful spat collection, and we currently have roughly 75,000 scallops growing on our site.
So what drives us? We live on a small year-round community of 350 people, and we work 7 different jobs between the 2 of us, including one of those jobs being working in the stern of a lobster boat. Lobstering within the state of Maine accounts for 78% of the state's fisheries income and over 50% of our own household income. And so the collapse of the lobster industry would be detrimental to the state of Maine. So we need to encourage diversification in order to keep our working waterfront alive in the face of climate change. small diversified farms such as ours could help serve as a model for our own local community as well as the greater coast of Maine in general. So lastly, we are excited to be providing or growing a sustainable source of protein without the use of fresh water, feed, antibiotics, or pesticides. In times of food insecurity and climate change, this is something we should be investing in. Thank you.
Chris Sauer, you're up.
Thank you. Nice presentation. I like the two of you doing the presentation. That's great. And I have some familiarity with the coast of Maine, having done projects up in Eastport, Lubec area, and working 7 jobs between the two of you. I understand that dynamic, and I applaud you for that. It's something that a lot of people around this country don't understand how hard it is to make a living. So congratulations. I didn't hear a lot about what does this grow to? What's the ultimate, what's the end game here? Is it just to add, 15 acres and you're done? Or is this does this scale up to something, really, really big?
So we originally had a slide in here with a visual of the farm, but we took it out because we were, really trying to streamline a bit. But basically, we would quadruple our size. So we would have 4 800-foot long lines for scallops, and we would have 20 800-foot long lines for seaweed. And actually, it's really interesting. The relationship between seaweed and scallops growing together is also a beneficial relationship. I don't need to get into that, but it's a good partnership.
Okay, so there's a synergy between
Yes,
doing the two, yeah.
Yeah.
And to answer I think 15 acres is what is our end goal. What we're trying to do is cut down on the number of jobs that we're working and have this be our full-time occupation. I mean, our true passion is working on the water, and that's what we're trying to adapt to the changing climate. And we think that this is the best way.
So is it just the two of you then that do this? Yeah, and it would be even with the 15 acres. So you don't.
Yeah, I think we would have some seasonal employees, and we're hopeful. I mean, we want to employ as many people as we can, especially in such a small community. But at this point, we've been bootstrapping, and we're trying to make a go of it on our own.
But yes, we do plan to hire people down the road.
Is there, it's really not a fair question, but with climate change, a very real thing in the Gulf of Maine, warming faster than anywhere else, what ultimately, what does that do to your business? How impacted are you by warming waters?
Right.
We would be very impacted. We hope that we're in a good location, being 12 miles off the coast. Our site never saw a temperature over 59 degrees at the surface, and we're growing on long lines 20 feet below the surface. So if the conditions at our site got too hot, I don't know what's happening in the rest of the state.
Force majeure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is another reason why, we do want to build that concept of diversification into our business. So that's where growing the seaweed as well, various different species of seaweed. And, we're just keeping our minds open to just trying to adapt over time.
And I don't know anything about aquaculture really, but is there anything that you do that's unique, that has some service aspect or some franchise aspect or some other words? Is what you're doing just like everyone else, or is it unique and other people may come and say, hey, I want to learn how to do this, and there's some potential for expansion through some avenues there?
Yeah, so right now there's only a handful of farms growing scallops in the state of Maine. Maine in particular is a unique place to be able to grow scallops. As we were saying, there are a lot of areas that are more protected due to the shape of the coast, and protection is really important for growing this product. And also, supply does need to increase pretty dramatically for the market to continue growing. We feel pretty uniquely placed in the sense of selling throughout the state of the coast of Maine. And we've also heard from dealers that are interested in whole scallops in New York and Philadelphia and California, all these various places. And I do think that Maine in particular, our location is what makes the farms in Maine particularly unique. But us in particular? I mean, do you have anything else to say?
No, other than that, I think that this is a very new thing
Yeah.
that we're doing. There's really only one farm that I know of that is truly to scale. And we hope that I think Hannah mentioned that we can serve as a model, and that small scale farms can be successful, and that people can have an outlet, that if you can't go commercial fishing anymore, that you have an option to stay working on the water.
Thank you.
Okay, our next pitcher is Literacy Tech.
Good evening. My name is Michelle DeBlois, and I'm a literacy educator at Lewiston Middle School. And I have to be honest with you, I was seriously thinking about considering leaving my profession. There are not enough hours in the day for me to meet federal and state mandates, the expectations of my school and district, and the needs of my students and parents. In my frustration, I researched online applications that I could use to be able to lessen my literacy workload. But I couldn't find one that could do it all. In the national assessment in 2019, 68% of 8th graders in the United States were not at the grade level for reading. And reading scores have declined in 31 states. On top of that, there's a teaching crisis. 1 in 5 teachers are considering leaving the classroom in the next 2 years, leading to a teacher shortage. But I think we've been looking at this problem all wrong. I don't think it's the kids or the reading programs that we're choosing. I think it's actually ineffective workflow that's causing teacher burnout and student disengagement. Literacy, independent reading, is the cornerstone of literacy education and the foundation for each student's reading. Teachers are required to know their books and to make sure they keep track of their inventory on a daily basis. They also need to know their students as readers and make sure that they can match up their customers with their products efficiently and expertly. However, this problem has been solved in the business world with the use of HubSpot and Salesforce, but teachers are still using sticky notes, clipboards, and index cards. Trust me, I do it every day. And that equates to nationally, for every week, there's 2 million teachers that are buried in 700 million piles of papers that are costing them 20 million hours of extra work. But we have a real solution with Remo. I'm the CEO and tri-founder of Literacy Tech Inc., along with Katie LaRiviere, another educator, and Peter Jeanette, our web application developer. We've created an online tool that manages and automates the independent reading process for educators and students in an intuitive way. We like to think of Remo as our literacy CRM for books and readers. Educators and students can go and look and browse books on our virtual bookshelves. They can also check out the perfect book with our system. We track students' reading on their virtual bookshelves, and they can also use online reading logs that they can either submit from at school or at home. Teachers can also manage their classes, and they can set up independent lesson plans. So for Remo, what we want to address is that there are 2 million teachers and 132,000 schools in the United States. We offer individual educators the option to have a free plan to try Remo out, or they can upgrade to a premium subscription that's $250 per year. We also have beta testers that are providing us with feedback. So in May 2020, we were awarded a $25,000 grant from MTI. We used these funds to create a sellable prototype that we launched on September 1st. What we're going to use with the money from Top Gun is we are going to upgrade our database. We are going to bring on parents, grades K through 3 educators, and schools and districts, and create more enhanced data analytics. So I want to say to you that Remo makes reading attainable and teaching sustainable. And I'd like to thank you for your time.
Terry Sutton will be asking me some clarifying questions.
Thank you. So you paint, you know, a pretty grim picture of the teaching profession, which I think probably resonates with a lot of us who've have kids going through the system or have had them. How, when you were launched in September, what was the uptake? What were the results? Who has become early adopters, if any?
Okay, we launched our prototype, and we have right now 5 different counties that are beta testers, like schools within those counties. We are planning our marketing to grab 200 early adopters at 150 each. We are also going in January, when we launch our version 2.0, we are going to pick up schools, and we're doing a pilot program, which is about $600 a year. We found that, and we're modeling this based on other applications too that are in the ed tech sector, that the initial educator and the school is where you can get your biggest bang for your buck. The districts, it's a long sales cycle, and it's very heavy and labor intensive. We're planning to offer it for around $2,500 for a school, which will allow principals to make the decision right then and there. So we're hoping with our early adopters that they will pressure within the school, and then we can outreach to other schools to bring it on board.
And is that a one-time charge, or is there a subscription? Is it an annual?
Fee.
It's an annual fee.
Annual fee.
How has the the pandemic and this sort of hyperdrive into online changed how you're thinking about this, or has it just been more fuel for your mission?
Actually, yeah, we started this before the pandemic happened. One thing that has happened is that we had beta testers that were ready to go in March. And when schools shut down, like my school, we were not allowed back into the school or anything like that. We're now bringing our beta testers up online. Our school started later, which has actually kind of helped us because we were able to launch and build it out within 6 months. I think what has happened is that it allows teachers to not change what they're doing. It's allowing them to streamline it and lessen the workload. We have a quarantine feature, and it's easy for kids to do and see things online and also do this program in school. So I think it will really help the educators and students that are doing hybrid or all online.
And have you thought at all about expanding it beyond literacy? Because it seems like this CRM concept, I love that analogy, would apply well beyond just literacy.
Yes, we're definitely looking at others like content area teachers and disciplinary teachers. We want to expand also into college and to utilize it also as a PD type of thing with the way that you can use books and integrate books on it. We're also looking at research and development to help use the data to build better ways to do interventions for students. So we're looking in all those different areas. We want to build a really strong independent reading application and then move out to different areas on top of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next pitcher is Coffee Hound.
Do you wake up hoping that first cup of coffee is going to help you leap tall buildings and it tastes like heaven? You're not alone. Over half of Americans of all ages are consuming 140 billion cups of coffee every year. Coffee is the second most popular drink after water. In coffee shops, they've been making $12 billion annually. But that is really the elephant in the room due to COVID. If it takes 30 days to create new habits, what coffee habits will Americans have after COVID? The at-home coffee market is expected to grow to $15 billion this year. And 40% of people working from home say they're going to keep working from home after COVID. The consumers has really turned into an at-home baristas. 39% of them say that they are willing to pay more for premium coffee to enjoy at home. My name is Jennifer Littoral, and I'm president of Coffee Hound Coffee Company. And a cafe, that's where we started in 2013 in the busy tourist town of Bar Harbor, where 3 million tourists visit every year. In 8 years, we've served over 1 million customers from all across the world, and we've received over 600 5-star reviews, and we've reached $1 million in sales. Those sales and investments helped us to expand in 2019. We wanted to diversify our company to reduce our risk, but little did we know the risk that we'd be in just 1 year later. In 2019, we launched an industrial coffee roasting plant in Brewer, Maine to service 5 new profit centers. Coffee direct to consumers through e-commerce sales, coffee to grocery stores through a distributor, cold brew coffee and kegs because the cold brew coffee market has grown to $1 billion industry. We wanted to add licensed cafes. And the 5th profit center, as a certified business owner, we able to leverage bids on government contracts for wholesale coffee. This diversification allowed us to pivot when we closed our Bar Harbor Cafe due to COVID. We predicted that the impact of COVID on tourism in Bar Harbor would put a major profit center into a declining tailspin. Even Starbucks announced in June that they were closing 400 coffee shops across the country. Since pivoting from a service industry completely into manufacturing, we were able to focus all of our resources and talents to grow 4 new profit centers that never had interruption because they were essential business. Since April, we've even added new product lines for our at-home baristas. Keurig compatible pods that are 100% recyclable, and they hold 2 times the amount of coffee as traditional pods. And for our pour-over coffee enthusiasts, we worked with a co-packer and we just launched a portable single-serve version. Working with our coffee distributor, since April, we have added 51 independent grocery stores all across Maine. We secured a contract with Hannaford's local program, and we're launching into 7 locations on Monday. With our brewery partner, Gagan Brothers, our 207 cold brew coffee is now being distributed by Maine distributors. It is on tap at 6 locations across Bangor. We're currently reviewing hundreds of matching government contracts for wholesale coffee. And our first corporate licensed coffee location now wants to add a 2nd location. Lastly, our e-commerce sales, those exploded in April, growing some 500%. Our website's now our new front door, and last week we just launched a brand new upgraded website with a fully integratable e-commerce platform so our at-home baristas can order any of our products for home delivery. We've already scaled, moving from 500 to 2,000 units a month just in the last 6 months. And we're scaled to handle growth up to about 5,000 units per month, which is through 2022 projections. $25,000 that will allow us to put in some efficiencies with an automated bag filler and also start launching our marketing campaign. At Coffee Hound, we have served over 1 million customers in our cafes, but we're bringing that cafe experience to homes across the nation. We're dedicated to Maine's craftsmanship, and we work hard to create an extraordinary coffee experience by ethically sourcing and artfully roasting our coffee, so our customers can mentally leap tall buildings and savor each sip of our coffee along the way. Our company is a recognized brand. We have over 1 million of our customers. Our team has over 21 years of combined experience, and we have a recognized market. Half of Americans are our potential customers. We were not only resilient during COVID, we kept and created jobs in the region and will be sustainable in the long term, regardless of COVID. So we're really making essential business the new sexy to investors. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie.
You don't know how much I want a cup of coffee right now. So I think you sold me. Be a little more specific, if you could, about the $25,000 and its utilization.
Sure. So we have just finished a enormous marketing plan because of all of the changes through this entire year, and we're getting ready to launch that. So we have a lot of different places that we're advertising in all different kinds of realms. Because we're such a diverse company, which has kept us resilient, we need a lot of different marketing channels for those. In addition to that, we're looking to not necessarily to scale up, but to put in efficiencies to save on time. Putting an automated bag filler in will help us move through things a lot faster.
Thank you. Question about sustainability. A lot of buyers are very concerned with sort of coffee's origins and labor and that sort of thing. Can you talk a little bit about your story relative to that?
Sure. Are you referring to like organic versus ethically sourced, or what are you asking?
Yeah, yes, and just mindfulness of that market segment who's concerned about those issues.
Sure. It's kind of a long story that I talk to a lot of our customers about. Organic's kind of a flipped up thing when it comes into the coffee world. Coffee's grown really in a third world countries along the equator. And a lot of those family owned or region owned plantations, they can't afford pesticides. They have hectares and hectares and hectares of property. So they can't afford pesticides, but they also can't afford organic labels. So sometimes wanting to or buying organic or insisting on organic actually squeezes out smaller family farms in place of gigantic corporations. So it's a little bit flipped than as it is normally in the organic world. So what we do is we really look for those family farms. And so we talk about sourcing ethically. We really match up with our green coffee. Coffee is a traded commodity. It was up until earlier this year, the top 5th traded commodity after oil, gold, and silver. And so it's traded across the New York Stock Exchange, it's graded, and then we buy the green product. But we work with our importer where we're getting our coffee from and what plantations.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
One final question. In this world of interesting trade times and tariffs and that sort of thing, what's your plan for any sort of fluctuations in the market relative to that?
Sure. So during this time period, we were able to lock in our coffee prices for a lot of the coffee bags that we're doing because of the distributor that we're working with, or the importer that we're working with. So we were able to lock in prices for the rest of the year on a lot of our coffee. So we were able to keep things more stable. And with having the resources we did, we've been able to pre-buy more green coffee to sustain that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next pitcher is Tree Free Heat.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dylan, and I am the founder of Tree Free Heat. Tree Free Heat recycles Maine's hemp waste and converts it into a sustainable biofuel. Hemp has the potential to heat the tens of thousands of residential homes, businesses, and colleges that heat with wood in the state of Maine. Hemp grows in just 4 months, making its growth cycle significantly faster than timber, which is typically harvested in 25 to 50 years. Last year, Maine produced 12 million pounds of hemp waste, and nearly all of it was destroyed or thrown away because we do not have the systems to effectively utilize it. Hemp waste primarily consists of the hemp stalks. In other countries, hemp stalks are used to be processed to create hemp paper, plastic, rope, clothing, building material, and the list goes on. In America, hemp is grown to create CBD, which utilizes the hemp flower. Once the hemp flower is processed, the rest of the hemp stalk is thrown away, composted, or burned. Tens of thousands of tons completely wasted. Hemp is a growing industry in the United States. Year after year, new states are entering the market. Hemp Hemp stalks are vastly underappreciated in the shadow of CBD production. Maine has an opportunity to take advantage of this. And more significantly, Maine has an opportunity to make hemp biofuel a staple heating source for Maine residents and businesses alike. Hemp biofuel is a heating source desired by our customers because it is more sustainable, as energy efficient, and more renewable than timber. 1 acre of hemp produces the cellulose fiber equivalent to 4 acres of timber, 4 times the production in just 1 acre. In addition, hemp is as efficient as wood as far as energy efficiency goes, in both BTUs and ash content. Lastly, hemp can be grown and burned in the same year, making it a carbon neutral biofuel. Hemp grows 75 times faster than timber. So we have the team, the processes, and the customers to cash in this year. Our team consists of me and my partner, Nick, who primarily we talk to our customers, learn about their needs, and solve the problems for that. In addition, we have partners in North Carolina. Our partners are in North Carolina because Maine currently is too young in the hemp industry to be able to produce the demand that we expect. Our partners in North Carolina include Burt. Burt is an industrial farmer who's been in the system for 30 years. Burt will be responsible for producing and processing our hemp pellets. Burt's partner, Antonio, will be also in charge of processing the hemp pellets, as well as be our logistics guy. Together, the 4 of us have created the system to grow, process, and create hemp pellets to be shipped from North Carolina to our pilot programs up here in Maine. And before all of this even happened, we wanted to ensure that a market actually existed. So we went out and talked to businesses that heat with wood. We have 3 planned pilot programs scheduled now. By March, we expect to move 750 tons of our product. So our market is all wood-burning biofuel plants. But considering we don't want to actually make a blanket statement of who our potential market is, I would like to talk about our attainable market. Based on our current pilot programs, we estimate that we will have an expected demand for 20,000 tons through 2021 and 2022. This would net us $2 million. So with that said, we would use the $25,000 to help us pay for the shipping to get the hemp pellets from North Carolina to Maine. This would give us $75,000 in revenue. Once we successfully service 1 pilot program, we are going to be able to replicate and scale. Our plan is to be able to replicate and scale in Maine first and be a part of the sustainable and agricultural economy in Maine. Look outside. Watch the news. Climate change is affecting our lives already, and it's only going to get worse. We need solutions that we can act on right now, and I firmly believe hemp biofuel is one of those solutions. My name is Dylan Dayu, Tree Free Heat. Thank you.
And the clarifying questions will come from Chris Sauer.
All right. Let me get my mask off there. Well, thank you for the presentation. I didn't realize hemp pellets even existed. 2 or 3 things. You mentioned that hemp production in Maine is 12 million tons a year, something like that?
12 million pounds.
Pounds a year, yeah, okay. And that you have to go to Carolinas, but yeah, you can grow hemp in a short time cycle. Why don't you just grow it in Maine?
So here's the reason for that. Maine is really early in the industry. So we are having these really fluctuating ebb and flows with farmers and being consistent. So North Carolina has kind of had the system down a lot better. And what we expect is that once Mainers can see, Maine hemp farmers specifically can see that there is a market for hemp stocks, they will then join with us. So we're creating the market for them to follow.
Okay, okay. Is there any special expertise involved in growing hemp? I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you plant it and then sit back and watch, let it grow, and then you harvest, or what?
Well, it's actually considered to be a pretty easy plant to grow compared to others. It's drought resistant to a good extent. It doesn't require a lot of water. When I talk to hemp farmers, most of the time their reaction is, wow, this was actually easier than I thought.
Yeah.
So it's kind of beneficial for that sense too. In addition to that, it's really good for the soil. It soaks up a lot of energy. So it's an energy dense plant.
Talk to me about performance versus wood pellets or just wood.
Yeah.
I mean, could you use this in a pellet stove?
So that's what we anticipate is going to be the case. The only place that we can actually find any research is in the UK right now. They make hemp biobricks instead of pellets. A lot of the federal regulations hold back universities from being able to research this. So from what we see in UK, it looks like it has 8,500 BTUs and 0.3 or 3% ash content, which is pretty on par with wood.
Yeah, okay, but you haven't actually done tests where people that had pellet stoves now burn hemp pellets and they've noticed no degradation or no difference in performance?
So we're going to be doing that with our pilot programs this coming year. And then we'll be able to kind of go from there.
Yeah, okay. One last thing, you talk about in Maine, but I mean, if this is as good as you believe it is, it would seem like there would be a very large market, not just in Maine. Mm-hmm. And what's your ultimate market size? What do you ultimately, beyond the 2 million, what's after that?
We would just continue to go. So what we find is that Vermont would be kind of our very next step. They have 25% of their households are heated with wood, with some type of wood bioproduct. But the wholesale customers are going to be a lot for us to handle to start. So we're gonna probably go from wholesale customers to then residential customers in Maine, and then do the same exact idea in Vermont, wholesale.
So how do you? What about price? Is it compatible? Is it comparable to, or cheaper, or what? How do you compare on a price basis? So price per million BTU, or however you want to look at it.
Yeah. So the market is really difficult to gauge right now. Currently, it's going to be more expensive, but we find that our wholesale customers are okay with that, basically due to how carbon neutral it is compared to wood, especially with its growth cycles. What we kind of expect to happen is as hemp grows in both Maine and Vermont, there will be more hemp stocks, which basically go for free, and we'll be able to kind of grab from those piles.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next pitcher is Unar Labs.
Am I audible? All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Hari. I'm the founder and CEO of Unar Labs. I'd like to start my talk with a simple geometry question. Of the 4 triangles that you see on the screen, can anyone tell me which one is a right angle triangle? Now, what you're experiencing is not a confusion or a technical glitch, but this is the reality for millions of people who are visually impaired. Even to answer such a simple question, you need to have access to that information. But such visual information access is often denied to people who cannot see that information. And this lack of information access has a huge negative impact on their everyday life activities. Of the 23.7 million blind and visually impaired people in the country, only 11% graduate college, 70% are unemployed, 30% do not even travel independently, and many feel isolated and alone. So to resolve this troubling statistics and to provide a viable accessibility solution, we invented a novel software solution called Midlina, which can take in any visual information and make that information into a multi-sensory information that the users can not only see, but can perceive the information by touching, feeling, and hearing the information. So to explain this better, let me walk you through with a quick example. Imagine a classroom scenario where we have a blind student and the teacher is trying to provide the student with a lecture or a math workbook. Now, while the sighted students can follow the lecture because they can see what is happening in the classroom, blind students will often be left out because there is no immediate solution for them to access such information. the most they can expect is a Braille document or a traditional paper-based hard copy tactile graphics. But the production process for such material takes 2 weeks to 2 months, and it has to go through like an intensive, time-consuming, laborious, and expensive process. Because of that, students often will not get the material on time and they lag behind. By contrast, with our approach, all the student would need is a commercial smartphone or a tablet, which most of them already have, and our software will make the information instantly accessible. It will read out all the textual information to them, and whenever they encounter graphical information, our software will make it accessible to them so they can touch and feel the information with the help of vibration, and they'll also hear auditory and kinesthetic feedback to follow along what is happening and keep up with the class along with their sighted peers. Now, this magic of Medlina was made possible by our team. So we have a very strong technical team complemented by a very strong advisory board. I personally have a PhD in spatial informatics. My co-founder, Nick, back there, holds a PhD in cognitive and brain science. Nick, he himself is blind. He's one of the leading assistive technology expert in the country and beyond. Our community engagements manager, Andrea, is also blind from birth. Both Nick and Andrea bring in first-hand knowledge of the blindness problem, as well as key insights towards our product development. In addition to their insights, we have conducted in-person extensive customer discovery interviews across the country. And so far, we have conducted more than 300 interviews with all the key players in the blindness ecosystem. Through these interviews, we already validated the product market fit, the problem solution fit, and we even mapped out 4 major market segments that showed an immediate interest for procuring Medlina. And these segments include education, workforce, navigation application, and social applications. So collectively, these 4 verticals, their market size globally is estimated to be 1.2 trillion. Within the US, the size is 5 billion. And our initial target area is the education sector, where the market size is estimated to be 92 million. And our plan to approach this market is to offer a 2-tier software subscription model, one for the enterprise level and one for the user level. To this end, we have already established strong collaborations and partnerships across several education institutes and industries in the country. In particular, we are conducting 2 pilot projects, one here in Portland, Maine with Iris Network, which is a blindness training center, and another one in Boston with National Braille Press, which is one of the biggest Braille producer in the country. Since formation, we have had a very clear roadmap on where we want to be, both on the funding level as well as on the product level. We have met all the milestones on the product level, and we currently have an MVP. On the funding level, to date, we have raised close to $2 million in R&D funding, of which we raised $1.3 million this year, last quarter. So this is a restrictive R&D funding. This is going to give us a 2 years runway to build a market-ready product from our MVP. And we are at this crucial junction where it is critical for us to complement all this R&D work with business activity. So to that end, we are currently raising another $300,000 to form our internal business development team and commercialize the technology as we build it. A $25,000 fund from Top Gun would really help us in meeting this funding goal and capitalize on the traction that we have already gained so far. Lastly, information leads to education, education leads to employment, and employment leads to better quality of life. Together, I'm confident with your help, we would be able to build a truly inclusive and accessible digital world and really make a difference in the lives of millions of blind and visually impaired people. Thank you.
Terry Sutton?
Wow. Like, with all the money you've raised, you really want 25,000? I mean, it just seems like a drop in the bucket to where you're, what you've already raised and where you're headed, but we can talk about that later. So can you describe how you've laid out the amount of testing that you've done and trial? Can you just describe how that plays itself out in the classroom? And is K through 12 your market, or is it, beyond that?
It's beyond. So it's any educational institute, especially, for example, Iris Network is an independent training facility for blind individuals. It currently caters close to 200 to 300 clients in and around Maine. So they'll just come there to train on anything that they want. So that is an educational scenario. And our product will help them instantly access any material, any digital material, which currently someone has to either read it to them, or they have to rely on some expensive process of producing tactile graphics and tactile material.
So can you talked a little bit about the vibration, and I'm really intrigued by the different ways you can engage the senses. So beyond auditory, how has this worked, and what
Sure.
have you seen in students and how they interact with it?
So now the best way to experience Medlina is to experience it yourself. So what happens is, like, anytime there is a graphical element, when you touch your finger, right now we can see this, but if you don't see, if you touch your finger, you'll get this vibration feedback. So that kind of acts as a cue for them to follow along. So that they will use the vibration cue as the indicator to touch and feel what is on the screen. And it will also be complemented with auditory cues on what is the content, as well as the kinesthetic feedback of how they move around on the screen and haptic feedback in other devices.
What do you think the biggest barriers are to the uptake of this product?
So far, it's kind of giving something new to our user group. So if I can quote Ford, it's more like selling cars to people who are riding horses. So they would always want to refer back to horses, but we are trying to provide something altogether new. So the awareness of graphical accessibility and graphical education by itself was the biggest thing for us, to train people on explaining a picture is worth 1,000 words. So we don't have to rely on just the words. Now you have the ability to access the word or textual information in a much quicker and easier way with our product.
And what sort of team do you need to really scale this? Because you have a relatively small team, very highly skilled, but as you're adding subscriptions, I'm trying to understand the mix between what you're raising for, what you're getting for revenue, and what you really need to actually implement.
Sure. So that kind of also answers your previous question of why we need the 25K, right? So the 2 million is restricted to R&D funding. So we have all the SBIR support and MTI support, but all those goes into the technology work that we are doing. So we have a very intensive R&D pipeline. So we are planning to launch our beta product of Medlina by January of 2022. So we have its very tight timeline on the technical side, but we also have this MVP and the technology ready to create some ancillary products. So we have this junction where it is critical for us to bring in the business expertise to start commercializing the technology as we are building the core technology in parallel. So we are currently planning to bring in a business development manager and another staff for marketing and PR purpose, so they can slowly start commercializing the technology as we are building. And we already identified the channels that we will be doing. So especially for the education market, it's going to be indirect. Each state has a distributor or AT reseller. So we already have contacts with them. So there'll be like 15-20% margin on the product. And collectively, we looking at around 30% of customer acquisition costs on top of the product value. So we'll be able to channel through them for different education institutes.
Okay, thank you.
Our final pitcher tonight is Lincoln in Maine.
Can I move this up a little bit? Probably a little bit better. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, that's perfect. That's not me. Oh, click it. Oh, okay, perfect. Then one more time. Perfect. Hello, my name is Thaddeus St. John, and I'm here to talk to you about Lincoln in Maine, where we make delicious, refreshing adult beverages and local Maine vermouth aperitifs. So a lot of people ask me, what is vermouth? And vermouth is pretty cool. Essentially, it's a fortified wine with a bunch of different herbaceous botanical infusions. So what we do is we take wine and we add neutral grape spirit brandy along with a bunch of different botanical infusions like gentian root, cinchona bark, cinnamon, vanilla. We do all these and we blend them together. We rack it and we filter it. And we wanted to create this vermouth experience. If you've ever had vermouth before, you usually have it on the rocks, you have it on the ice, but this was something different. And we wanted to use Maine ingredients from Maine people. When we first started out back in 2016, 2017, my business partner and I, we wanted to create a Maine vermouth using Maine ingredients. So we reached out to Dole's Orchard Farm in Leamington, Maine, and we used Maine rhubarb. That was the base of our ingredient. And historically, that's what vermouth is. You use vermouth, or you use rhubarb in vermouth with a bunch of these proprietary herbs and spices. This was done way back in the Roman times. They brought it up, and eventually it became this Italian, Spanish culture, this aperitivo. You have snacks and drinks, and there's a vibrant life force to that. So that was really cool, and I got excited. My business partner was excited. He was the mad scientist, and we started rolling. So in 2019, we became a company, and we wanted to really set out on this Maine culture. So our first ingredient that we wanted to use was Maine rhubarb. And then we expanded into different ingredients. We were playing around with the different things. We found out there are 300 ways on not to make vermouth. That was a pretty obvious, that was a pretty obvious thing that we figured out. But eventually we finally got it. So we came out with our first product, Drink Me. Pretty self-explanatory, right? You see it on the shelf, Drink Me. We wanted to be Drink Maine. So that Maine rhubarb that we use along with these infusions, that created a whole different thing. And we didn't know what we had. We wanted to have something that was commercially available, because all the other commercial available vermouths, I would buy a $30 bourbon and then I would mix it with an $8 vermouth. That didn't seem right. So I wanted something that was different, something local that we could use from Maine farms. I grew up on a Western farm in Maine. I know the value of farm to table, and I know that the appreciation of Maine produce. So that's where we got Drink Me 93. That was our first Maine rhubarb, and we started working with other farmers as well. Right now, we currently work with 3 different Maine farms for their rhubarb, and in 2019, we used over 1,000 pounds of Maine rhubarb. We also enjoy the lifestyle of it. You know, it's the classic aperitif where you're sitting on the table, or not the table, you're sitting outside on the street. When everything happened and all these restaurants came out from the street, it was so cool to see this kind of vibrant, obvious life force of this vermouth culture, even just drinking and eating. And that was really cool to see. So once we elaborated on that, we started seeing some movement. In 2019, we got voted Best New Business by the Portland Old Port Awards. That was pretty huge. That was just the first stepping stone. Right after that, we signed with Maine's largest independent wine distributor, and we got into over 120 retail accounts in the state of Maine alone. So we distribute from Kittery down to Bangor, or up to Bangor, up to Mount Desert Island, and we started to see real traction here. Again, being the only Maine commercially available vermouth, people were starting to use that home bartending technique, and people were starting to get into the movement. Other local retail outlets that we got, which were pretty big, RSVP, both of the Bow Streets in Freeport and in Portland, and Rosemont markets. That was our clientele. That was our people. We wanted to appreciate the food and the wine and the drink culture all together. But the biggest one that we got was Hannaford. We got into the limited reserve bins in Hannaford, and we got into over 7 different stores, which was huge for our exposure. You know, just starting out in 2019, we were ready to go, and having that was awesome. So last year we did about $30,000 worth of revenue. In 2020, we're going to Mars. We like to say we're going to the moon, but we're going to Mars because we've already been to the moon. So we're adding new people. We added an in-house social media artist person. We added a part-time delivery driver. We're doing cocktails delivery on the scooter. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really fun on the scooter. And we are absolutely growing. So I just checked August numbers. We are going to hit our $60,000 worth of revenue, 100% over last year. And we're going to do more than that. And that was coming from nothing in our wallets. We started all self-finance. So that was it. And now we're really seeing some traction. We also have applications going in Maine or New Hampshire and Massachusetts. So that would be huge for out-of-state distribution. And then our biggest one was Whole Foods. We just got that last month, and I was over the moon on that. Just to get, again, that was our demographic, that was our clientele. It was huge. So that was a big one for us. So at the end of this, I just wanted to say thank you. Kind of looking at the camera, but my support team has been absolutely huge in all this, and Top Gun has been awesome. So I really appreciate everybody coming out, and this was huge. So cheers.
It's okay. I'll run off. So Kerry Tyson will be asking our final clarifying questions.
Following my coffee, I'm going to have a nice adult beverage.
Good man.
This is exciting. Great. My wife loves rhubarb too. So tell me more about your diversification. You've talked about a little bit about vermouth and the like, but are there other areas of adult beverages you're considering expanding to, or non-adult beverages?
No, that's a great question. I think what we really wanted to do is separate that we are a spritz. And what I'm seeing with the can movement, we brought some cans tonight, but what I'm seeing with the cans is you can bring it anywhere. And that really is going to be an interesting thing. The bottles we make the most money off of. Our margin is huge on the bottles. But with the cans, you have that on-the-go cocktail experience. And we're seeing spirits and vermouth and any sort of different local aperitif. There's not much in Maine, but we're seeing that growth happen. So I think the on-the-go is going to be the key in that. You know, it's a movement and it's a culture, and part of it is an education piece, but at the same time, it's awesome to, you know, go up to Katahdin. I did it up at Baxter this year, and I had a 4-pack of my own stuff. So that was pretty huge.
Tell me a little more about the $25,000, exactly what you would use it for and how big of a difference it would make.
That would go right back into Maine. So we're going to get more Maine rhubarb, more Maine apples. I can get it for cheaper the more I get. So that's immediately going back into the state of Maine. Earl from Dole's Orchard, we have conversations. It's never about COVID. It's always about the life force of rhubarb and how cool rhubarb is. So using Maine ingredients, that's at the core of who we are. So that would go immediately right back into them. And then we would expand on that. We also are working, we want to get Wyndham Steel to make us a new tank. Right now we have about a 60-barrel stainless tank to carbonate those beverages. So we would get another one right down the road from Wyndham.
Great. What else? What have you not told us? Well, give you your last second to the thing you wanted to think about.
I mean, it's interesting that throughout this entire process, I never thought that I would be here, and it's pretty crazy. You know, even during this entire year where things shifted, you know, tremendously, it was a new experience and a new challenge, and we only roll. We don't stop. So having that positivity and maintaining that enthusiasm, that's what it's been all about. And it's been awesome.
Well, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Way too high for me. So that was the last pitch of the evening, and our judges have the unenviable task of going off and comparing notes and coming up with the winner for the evening. And while they do that, and you're gonna head off with Terry Johnson, I believe. Terry's gonna take you off. We are going to have a quick tribute to one of our mentors we lost last year. You know, at the core and the heart of the Top Gun program is matching each one of our client companies with a lead mentor and other coffee mentors. And one of the mentors who's been super involved with our program over the years, who is one of our biggest supporters, Michael Sheehan from Pretty Flaherty Law Firm, passed away last year very unexpectedly. So we have a beautiful tribute film we'd like to run, thanks to Pretty Flaherty, and also some words from one of Michael's colleagues. So we'll run the film first.
To me, Michael was one of the smartest people I have ever met. And he also had this incredible ability to connect with people like no one I've ever met before and since.
Michael was probably the smartest person that I've ever met, like knew things right off the top of his head.
If you asked him a question about taxes and the impact of a particular code provision on a business, it would take him 2 seconds to respond. It was remarkable.
For sheer brain power, he was remarkable. I mean, we work in a profession where there are lots of smart people, sort of have to be smart to survive. He definitely, I would say, is one of the 2 or 3 smartest people that I have known.
He really had an ability to work with numbers that was unbelievable. That really were the talents and characteristics that, in my mind, set him apart from many other lawyers.
Michael Sheehan was really everyone's best friend. If you met Michael and you got into his orbit, you felt like he cared about you as a person from the moment he met you, and I believed that he did.
His ability to connect with people was, in my experience, unique. And he met people where he found them.
Michael enjoyed establishing a personal relationship with the client. So the clients became his friend.
It didn't matter to Michael whether the client was had hundreds of millions of dollars of revenues or was a brand new company, because he connected with the people and their objectives.
He had a tremendous amount of intellectual curiosity. He loved to problem solve, and he loved people and helping them.
He loved math. And of course, one of the keys to running a successful business is to pay attention to the math. And Michael was a math wizard.
Mike was a whiz at understanding and working with complicated corporate business structures and the tax implications of various transactions.
I swear Michael had the Internal Revenue Code memorized. Like, he could answer a question and refer to a tax code section without ever picking up a book. He'd always double check himself and he would always be right.
First of all, he loved the tax code. Not too many people can say that, but he did.
Michael Sheehan liked nothing more in life than to help entrepreneurial people, people who he thought whose instincts were to create something. And he would help them establish a foundation in which they could build a business.
Michael really enjoyed working with the entrepreneurs in our program. I think that was really a personal interest for him, and he really took a lot of joy in whatever role he served.
He loved the young entrepreneurs that came in, and he was always amazed at sort of their ingenuity and their creativity and the ideas that they would bring to him.
Found everything interesting. Everything was curious to him.
His eyes would really light up when they would really show their passion and show their determination.
He really saw himself as a mentor to these people, both personally and professionally. And I think he felt that, part of his role as a senior partner at the firm was to help grow these young businesses along and give them the value of his years of experience.
You didn't think about him as a lawyer, thought about him as just somebody that genuinely cared about you and wanted to see you do well. And that's how you left any conversation with Michael. And I think that makes a difference when talking with young startups.
Aside from him being an impressive person in his career, he was a really easy person to be around. When you were with him, he was interested and focused. And when he spoke with you, he was fully present.
I think he was a good mentor to them because in addition to his skills as a business lawyer, he was personally vested in their idea, and he would come to me for marketing ideas for them. He would open his Rolodex looking for contacts that were unrelated to the work that he was doing. He would try to make networking connections for them that were unrelated to the work that he was doing. I mean, he sort of looked at the business as a whole and looked at the person running the business and wanted them to both be successful.
He found sort of the human dynamic an interesting puzzle, and looked at that as an important factor in driving good financial results.
He was an incredible resource in so many ways. And I think that's what made him a great sounding board for new entrepreneurs, or to just reach out and ask him for a referral to somebody. He seemed to always have a good sense of who can help someone if it wasn't him.
He loved helping young people who wanted to start a business. It was a passion of his, and they were very fortunate to have him as a mentor.
He looked for that spark that so many of our entrepreneurs had. And if they had that, he seemed to be all in with them.
Young entrepreneurs delighted Michael every time.
Michael Sheehan left a legacy as a gifted business lawyer, a partner and a friend to our business community, and a mentor to the young entrepreneurs who are innovating the future. All of us at Prudy Flaherty believe one of the best ways we can continue to honor Michael's legacy is to honor the startup companies that he so passionately helped develop. With the Michael Sheehan Scholarship Award, we are proud to present one of the Top Gun finalists with $5,000 to help bring their business vision to life.
Michael was driven by the entrepreneurial spark, and he genuinely wanted to help emerging companies succeed. In selecting a recipient for the Michael Sheehan Scholarship Award, we looked for that all-in energy and spirit, We looked for the future potential, and we looked for a company that could use the money immediately and have an impact on their growth. It was hard to choose just one, since there are many impressive young startups here today. We know Michael would be inspired by all of you, and we're proud to be presenting this award in his name.
On behalf of Pretty Flaherty, thank you to MCE for another successful season of Top Gun. It's been our privilege to support this program for the last several years. We'd also like to applaud all the participants and finalists for your talent, creativity, and hard work. To the winner of the Michael Sheehan Scholarship Award, we're honored to help cultivate your dream, and we look forward to watching your business grow. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, after that beautiful tribute, I'd like to introduce Dave Van Slyke to say a few words about Michael and to present the Michael Sheehan Award, Entrepreneurship Award.
Thank you. I'm actually glad that there was that little glitch because we couldn't hear what the people were saying up there, but I know exactly what they were saying. And if I had heard that all over again, I probably would be a blubbering mess here today. Michael really was, that video really said it all about Michael. Those were all his trusted colleagues at the firm. And really, again, it pretty much says it all about Michael and about his love for this program here. My name is Dave Van Slyke. I'm managing partner of the law firm of Pretty Flaherty, Belleville and Pacious, and I'm here tonight to present the Michael Sheehan Memorial Award. Mike was a big proponent of the Maine Center for Entrepreneurs, the Maine Technology Institute, this Top Gun Accelerator program, as well as our own Entrepreneurs Launchpad at Pretty Flaherty. Mike was also a big proponent of affordable and fair housing. He was heavily involved in the Habitat for Humanity organization for the greater Portland area. And sort of with that as background, I want to say that it's with great pride that I'm here tonight to present the 2020 Michael Sheehan Memorial Award to Trusted Renters. Trusted Renters is a startup founded on developing software to address screening challenges faced by both renters and landlords in the rental housing market. So I would offer our congratulations to the co-founders, John Peters and Steve Doman, who I understand are joining us. So welcome, gentlemen, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's definitely an honor to get this award. I wish we could have known Michael as a person and even as a mentor, because after watching that video, it sounds like we really missed out on a great guy. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thanks.
So we'll take a few-minute break now, waiting for the judges to come back with the winner. So have some refreshments and we'll be back in a few minutes.
incredible ability to connect with people like no one I've ever met before and since.
Michael was probably the smartest person that I've ever met, like knew things right off the top of his head.
If you asked him a question about taxes and the impact of a particular code provision on a business, it would take him 2 seconds to respond. It was remarkable.
For sheer brain power, he was remarkable. We work in a profession where there are lots of smart people. So sort of have to be smart to survive. He definitely, I would say, is one of the 2 or 3 smartest people that I have known.
He really had an ability to work with numbers that was unbelievable. That really were the talents and characteristics that, in my mind, set him apart from many other lawyers.
Michael Sheehan was really everyone's best friend. If you met Michael and you got into his orbit, you felt like he cared about you as a person from the moment he met you. And I believed that he did.
His ability to connect with people was, in my experience, unique. And he met people where he found them.
Michael enjoyed establishing a personal relationship with the client. So the clients became his friend.
It didn't matter to Michael whether the client was had hundreds of millions of dollars of revenues or was a brand new company, because he connected with the people and their objectives.
He had a tremendous amount of intellectual curiosity. He loved to problem solve, and he loved people and helping them.
He loved math. And of course, one of the keys to running a successful business is to pay attention to the math. And Michael was a math wizard.
Mike was a whiz at understanding and working with complicated corporate business structures and the tax implications of various transactions.
I swear Michael had the Internal Revenue Code memorized. Like, he could answer a question and refer to a tax code section without ever picking up a book. He'd always double check himself and he would always be right.
First of all, he loved the tax code. Not too many people can say that, but he did.
Michael Sheehan liked nothing more in life than to help entrepreneurial people who he thought whose instincts were to create something. And he would help them establish a foundation in which they could build a business.
Michael really enjoyed working with the entrepreneurs in our program. I think that was really a personal interest for him, and he really took a lot of joy in whatever role he served.
He loved the young entrepreneurs that came in, and he was always amazed at sort of their ingenuity and their creativity and the ideas that they would bring to him.
Found everything interesting. Everything was curious to him.
His eyes would really light up when they would really show their passion and show their determination.
He really saw himself as a mentor to these people, both personally and professionally. And I think he felt that, part of his role as a senior partner at the firm was to help grow these young businesses along and give them the value of his years of experience.
You didn't think about him as a lawyer, you thought about him as just somebody that genuinely cared about you and wanted to see you do well. And that's how you left any conversation with Michael. And I think that makes a difference when talking with young startups.
Aside from him being an impressive person in his career, he was a really easy person to be around. When you were with him, he was interested and focused. And when he spoke with you, he was fully present.
I think he was a good mentor to them because in addition to his skills as a business lawyer, he was personally vested in their idea, and he would come to me for marketing ideas for them. He would open his Rolodex looking for contacts that were unrelated to the work that he was doing. He would try to make networking connections for them that were unrelated to the work that he was doing. He sort of looked at the business as a whole and looked at the person running the business and wanted them to both be successful.
He found sort of the human dynamic an interesting puzzle. and looked at that as an important factor in driving good financial results.
He was an incredible resource in so many ways. And I think that that's what made him a great sounding board for new entrepreneurs, or to just reach out and ask him for a referral to somebody. He seemed to always have a good sense of who can help someone if it wasn't him.
He loved helping young people who wanted to start a business. It was a passion of his, and they were very fortunate to have him as a mentor.
He looked for that spark that so many of our entrepreneurs had. And if they had that, he seemed to be all in with them.
Young entrepreneurs delighted Michael every time.
Michael Sheehan left a legacy as a gifted business lawyer, a partner and a friend to our business community, and a mentor to the young entrepreneurs who are innovating the future. All of us at Pretty Flaherty believe one of the best ways we can continue to honor Michael's legacy is to honor the startup companies that he so passionately helped develop. With the Michael Sheehan Scholarship Award, we are proud to present one of the Top Gun finalists with $5,000 to help bring their business vision to life.
Michael was driven by the entrepreneurial spark, and he genuinely wanted to help emerging companies succeed. In selecting a recipient for the Michael Sheehan Scholarship Award, we looked for that all-in energy and spirit. We looked for the future potential, and we looked for a company that could use the money immediately and have an impact on their growth. It was hard to choose just one, since there are many impressive young startups here today. We know Michael would be inspired by all of you, and we're proud to be presenting this award in his name.
On behalf of Pretty Flaherty, thank you to MCE for another successful season of Top Gun. It's been our privilege to support this program for the last several years. We'd also like to applaud all the participants and finalists for your talent, creativity, and hard work. To the winner of the Michael Sheehan Scholarship Award, we're honored to help cultivate your dream, and we look forward to watching your business grow. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Need a few more minutes? Oh, okay. Welcome back, everybody. The judges are back. They've made their very difficult decision, and we'll be doing some more congratulating here in just a minute. But before we do that, I just want to thank a few people who were really instrumental this year in pulling all of this together. People who are more internal to MCE. And I'll start with Lori Johnson, who is our program manager. She's done a phenomenal job. I really want to thank her. And no relation, but Terry Johnson, who is our network manager, as we keep. I'd like to thank our board of directors who work behind the scenes to keep the doors open with MCE and all of our sponsors around the state, our partners who manage the Top Gun programs all around the state in collaboration with us. And so with no further ado, I will present the check. The winning check from MTI goes to Literacy Tech. Literacy Tech. Sorry. Yeah, I'll join in. Thanks everyone for coming out. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Good night.
Oh.